right, I think we can go ahead and get started, and mission has started to slow. Thank you so much, everyone, again for joining. It's really great to be here, and we're so honored to have two of our very important partner organizations here to talk through a lot of what their organization does in recognition of the International Day of the Girl. So I am Hannah Evans, and I am the Senior Analyst here at Population Connection. And today, again, we're going to be learning from two of our partner organizations based in East Africa. So they're going to be sharing a little bit more about how their organizations work to empower underserved adolescent girls and young women in their communities. First up, we have Monica Nyiraguhobwa, who is the co-founder of Girl Up Initiative Uganda. She is a globally recognized advocate for girls' education, holding numerous awards and fellowships. Under her leadership, GUIU gained international acclaim, including recognition by Michelle Obama's Girls Opportunity Alliance and a feature on NBC's The Today Show. In addition, we're also going to be hearing from Dr. Kakenya Nataya, who is the founder and president of Kakenya's Dream, which is based in Kenya. Dr. Kakenya defied tradition as a teenager after experiencing FGM. She negotiated her return to school and later earned a PhD in education in the United States. She is celebrated as a woman of impact by women in the world and among the Women Deliver 100 Most Inspiring People Delivering for Girls and Women. So if you have questions for our speakers, please feel free, as always, to drop them in the Q&A box. We will be facilitating a discussion following their presentations. So please, if you have anything that you'd like to learn more about or ask, feel free to do so. We will also be providing written answers for any questions that we don't have time to answer today during the live discussion, along with the recording of the presentation slides, and access to the chat box discussion. So that's all for the housekeeping items that I have. So let's jump in, and we're going to get started with the presentation. First up is Monica. Thank you very much. Good to have you here.
Thank you, Anna. And to kickstart our conversation, I would just like to say Happy International Day of the Girl Child. We are all here because we care and we value the girl child as a whole in the world. And talking about Girl Up Initiative Uganda and the power that there is in girls, I would like to usher this conversation talking about our work in Uganda with a glimpse of a video.
The Big Sister Camp 2023 has been such a rewarding and rich experience as our adolescents came together to connect, nurture, and create. It's been an amazing journey watch these girls through the Adolescent Girls Program, and now coming together as big sisters to take on the journey of mentorship and support for other girls, take on the journey of leadership at a broader level. We are so proud of what we have accomplished together.
Who can share with me, what is that expectation? Why are you excited?
I've come here expecting to learn more skills, tips, and knowledge in order to succeed.
I've been excited to come to this camp because I know I've learned many things which will help me in future.
We learned about leadership and decision making. Leadership is the act of leading others. And when we go into the word of leadership, we can get the word leader. A leader is a person who is given authority to lead and guide, direct others.
Leadership is very important in this camp because as big sisters, these girls are mentors to others, and they have to show to be the example and lead change in the society.
In the decision-making session, I've learned that before we make a decision, we have to think critically. First stop, think about the effects of the decision you're making, the outcomes,
What was so exciting about this year's camp was that we're able to integrate a component of STEM. Both our girls can appreciate STEM, given that normally girls are challenged with science subjects, but how can we introduce STEM into our camps to make sure that we ignite the curiosity around learning of sciences?
They told us that electronics comes from the word electrons, and when you're learning about electricity, you see that there are two types of electricity, static and current. So in the current electricity, the electrons flow from the negative terminal to the positive terminal. We learned the way to make machines, robots, using electricity, shapes, and using different materials.
We connected different lights using batteries. So that we made the motor, we had the switch, we had cables, and we made what? And we were able to make a fan.
For me as a coach, it is an amazing experience getting to see different girls in their diversity in one space, learning from each other and growing as mentors and leaders. It really warms my heart to see that the girls that we have mentored for a year are now together in a space and are able to speak, be confident, and articulate issues that affect them.
I really want to appreciate Gallup for enabling our girls. More so, the deaf community has been lagging behind, but I want to thank you so much for bringing them on board, because now during the discussions, for example, we're discussing about menstruation, and these girls really have ideas from their villages. I really want to appreciate Gallup for bringing them on board so that they can also express what they know and also express their experiences in the environment. We are super excited for what we've achieved together. I'm excited for these girls because their curiosity has been awakened, but also their leadership has been heightened to another level. And I can only watch what they can become in the years as we continue together and collectively invest in them. I would like to appreciate our trusted partners for continuously investing in our programming. We are because you are. Thank you.
That one. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for your patience as we had that technical glitch. Talking about Gallup Initiative Uganda, our vision is a gender equal world where, of course, we want to see girls thrive and lead. And of course, our mission is to build a vibrant movement of girls and young women through transformative leadership, sexual and reproductive health education, and skills development. Next. So just to give you a glimpse that we've been doing this work around girls and women for the last 10 years. We celebrated 10 years last year, and I felt it important just to give you a glimpse of what the 10 years have meant for us in terms of numbers, in terms of approaches, in terms of reach. And so what you see projected on your screen are the numbers of the girls, the women that we've been able to reach through our different programming in the last 10 years. And of course, talking about the last 10 years, it even gives us more confidence that the issues of girls and young women are issues that need global attention, but also recognizing how far we've come, but again, how far we still have to walk the journey in the issues that affect girls and young women. Next. So our programming is classified into what we'd call 3 domains. And the first domain is really around gender responsive sexual and reproductive health and rights for girls and women. We really feel that the issues of SRH, as we like to call it, sexual reproductive health rights, and just being gender responsive are critical issues in moving the needle around girls' education, around their empowerment, around ensuring that they access information, services, that really will support them to make good decisions for themselves. And of course, in this core domain, we recognize that it's very important to work with all the stakeholders to make sure that the issues of sexual reproductive health and rights are really critical and appreciated in this sense. In the next domain that we have is around skilling and employability for girls and young women. We know that economic empowerment is critical for girls to be able to have choice, for girls to be able to decide, for example, when they are younger women, in terms of how many children they should be having, whether they should be in relationships or not. And so we know that economic empowerment is such a crucial element in ensuring that women can sustain the decisions that they take for themselves, and also girls can sustain the decisions they take, right from being a girl to being a young woman and being to a fully fledged woman, really. Then the other is around quality gender transformative education for adolescent girls and boys. Over the years, we've recognized that our core principle is really working with girls, but we've equally learned in these 10 years that working with other structures is very important, especially if we are going to transform communities and villages as a whole. So what we've learned in this core domain is that much as 80% of our programming will be around girls, we've been able to cluster in working with boys, because we know that we need boys and men as allies to be able to challenge, the stereotypes, the gender stereotypes and the masculinities, so that we can have more of positive masculinities. We can have boys and men who appreciate girls' empowerment, who appreciate girls' education, and are able to move with them as partners in this space. So quality gender responsive education for adolescent girls and boys really brings together girls and boys together, but also appreciating that they exist in the spectrum of community. So working also with parents, with teachers and school managers, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we create safer school and community environments that are safe for girls, but also environments where boys and men recognize and appreciate girls' empowerment as a whole. Next. So why girls? Just looking and reflecting on the video that you just watched, reflecting on the fact that we've been in place for 10 years doing girls' work. We've been on the ground doing this work. We've interacted with these girls. Why girls and why the International Day of the Girl Child is because we recognize and appreciate that girls face so many barriers to education, whether they are social, they are cultural, they are economic. They face issues around their safety. And of course, I know so much work has been done in this spectrum, but again, recognizing that when talking about issues of patriarchal environments where our girls in our communities have to live with, it takes a bit of time to transform or to challenge the patriarchal mindsets in this case. So why girls is because we know that they face a double burden. Girls are birthed into communities that already have stringent measures on how they should be controlled, on how they shouldn't have access to certain, spaces and opportunities. So why girls is because we recognize the double burden it is to be born a girl and the challenges that they face right on from being children, from being adolescents to being mothers in this space. And that's why the focus really is around carving out spaces and platforms that will allow these girls to be able to express themselves, carving out spaces that will enable girls access information and services around the critical issues that they face. Also, why girls is because we know that age and gender-based norms that I talked about and expectations vis-a-vis navigating patriarchal environments is such a critical issue. And of course, we know that why girls is because we know that an investment in a girl pays in so many ways. That uneducated girl is more likely to make the right decisions when it comes to how many children she wants to have when she's a young woman. Uneducated girl, the investments are high, that she will acknowledge why it's important to have other girls in school. So you find that educating a girl in this spectrum really helps us solve most of the critical global problems that we are facing, whether it's problems around maternal mortality, whether it's challenges around family planning, whether we believe that girls are that sector of human that's really, when well invested on, will be able to change the narrative and the story and the outcomes for most of the global challenges that we are facing. And for us, really, the emphasis is focused on adolescent girls, because we know that a girl as an adolescent is still at that naive stage, and therefore giving her critical information, critical accurate information, goes a long way in creating that change that we want to see. Next. And of course, just wrapping up, these are the programs that we focus on, and all these programs tag into the domains that we talked about. We do run the Adolescent Girls Program, which is an in-school program that works with girls in terms of amplifying spaces, in terms of giving them agency on the critical issues that they face, so that we can see girls challenge these beliefs and stereotypes. And so we work with school structures, we work with school managers, we work with boys in the school, we work with teachers, with the aim of ensuring that we create safer learning environments. And of course, safer learning environments ultimately help us achieve better outcomes for girls in school. I've talked about the Boy Champion Program. And why the Boy Champion Program? Because we know that working with boys really helps in terms of boys being the champions of change. Challenging those negative stereotypes that they've been birthed into, so that we can have boys and men who recognize girls and women as peers and partners in the space. And of course, we have the Big Sister program, because the Big Sister network, because we know that girls mentorship is a long-term journey. And when we engage girls in a year-long program, what happens to them? The Big Sister network is those spaces that allows continuous mentorship, because different ages and different years pose different challenges. And so a mentorship space or a mentorship hub for them is what we do to make sure that the conversations continue. And of course, in the spirit of economic empowerment, we run the Missouri Designs Hub that skills out of school young women in fashion and design skills. And next year, we'll be moving into computer literacy and mechanics for girls, because we know that empowering girls with social skills is very important, but also empowering girls with economic and vocational skills definitely is a good addition to ensuring that transformation happens in the lives of these girls and young women. Next. And just as I wrap up this conversation, we have been proud partners of Population Connection, and I just wanted really to share. I know I shared that 10-year impact of what do numbers look like, what does the impact look like, but just reflecting on a journey with Population Connection. The investment from Population Connection this year really went towards ensuring that we continue to do our work around that domain, around quality gender transformative education for girls and boys, where 200 girls have been supported with school scholarships. When I talk about school scholarships, sometimes we may think of private schools. In Uganda, we do have what we call the universal primary school. These schools are ideally supposed to be free, but they are actually not free. And these are public schools where we do our work. And you'll find that much as the stipend parents have to pay could be about $30 per term, not all parents can afford that money. And that's why you will see that there are so many girls dropping out of school. And of course, if they dropped out of school, then you're very sure of many girls getting pregnant at a time they shouldn't be getting pregnant. And so the funds from Population Connection from this community enabled us see that we invest to make sure that 200 girls are supported through school this entire year, which we are grateful for. I did share that video earlier, and the funds again the investment supported us in making sure that we continue to cultivate girls' leadership and advocacy. And that was a video of the Big Sisters Camp, which is an annual event of girls where we bring girls from other communities that we've worked with. We normally take only 200 girls because it's a very competitive space, to make sure that their mentorship journey continues out of their own homes. And so part of the investment was used to support that engagement, and of course, in the spirit of ensuring that girls' leadership and advocacy is emulated. And of course, also part of the investment supported us to build capacity of 16 of our staff members in sign language. And for us, working with girls and young women, we are also very, very intentional with working with girls with disabilities, because girls, again, are not homogeneous. There are all sorts of girls. We have particular focus working with girls with disability. So, and for this group of girls that we work with have are girls from the Uganda School for the Deaf. And so previously, our staff only relied on interpreters. But again, the investment allowed us to ensure that at least our staff that interact with these girls get basic capacity building in terms of understanding sign language, because we know that language justice is a right for all. Next. Yes, and of course, all this work is made possible because there's a team. There's a team of committed young people on the ground working so hard to make sure that they interface with these girls, they interface with the programs, and they keep the work and the conversations going in the communities that we serve. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Monica. And thank you all for this wonderful day. I am going to share my screen. And hopefully we can do this faster. Please let me know, somebody let me know if you can see my screen.
Looks good.
Good. So thank you everyone for coming in, joining to listen in this day. Happy International Day of the Girl. And thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Population Connection, for putting this together to enable us to be able to share our work that we're doing in rural Kenya, and to join Monica, the work that she's doing in Uganda. Just to go back, I just want to really, today I want to talk about, I want to talk to you about just, first, let me share this. So as I talk, I want you to picture yourself in this rural area, which is southwestern Kenya. It's where I grew up. And today I'm going to talk a lot about healthcare and the disparities that normally exist in rural communities and how that affects girls in general. So let's go to another sign. I want to start with just sharing the realities for girls in the rural communities that we work in. FGM is seen as a rite of passage into womanhood. Girls go through it in preparation for marriage. And I'm talking about a 12-year-old girl. Once she undergoes through FGM, she drops out of schools and she gets married. As you know, that's the end of her educational journey. She's now expected to bear children and take care of her family. FGM is an old age tradition that has existed for centuries. And, you know, this type of practices limits girls' access to education and economic empowerment. It is detrimental to their physical and mental and even just their well-being. I want to take, for example, child marriage. It is the driver for teen pregnancies, and it has, it brings a lot of serious health consequences and complications. When a young girl gets pregnant, when she's giving birth, there are a lot of complications to that. Infant mortality rates is 60% higher when a mother is under 18. It's even worse, in communities like I had just shared of ours that doesn't have any healthcare facilities that care for young people, and the ones that are around, it's quite far for them to even get to. My own, my own personal life story was to follow a traditional path to undergo FGM and get married. When I was 5 years old, I found out that I was engaged to be married. At age 12, my marriage was approaching, and education was soon coming to an end for me. But I managed to forge a different path. I survived FGM, negotiated my way out of marriage, and continued with my education. When I was a student at the University of Pittsburgh pursuing my PhD, I traveled home for spring break, and a girl from my neighborhood was married. She was this young girl who I just, I could remember how, crying, but still moving on to go to her husband's house. And there was no one to help her. And I wanted to save her, but, I was thinking that time I needed to go to school. So I didn't save her, and I went back to university. And something throughout that year, I just kept thinking about her face was just in me, reminding me that she's married. And so it's when then I realized that we couldn't wait. I couldn't just sit there and wait for a perfect time to, or somebody from somewhere to come and help girls in my school, in my community, to get an education or to avoid child marriage or to avoid FGM. So I put together a few friends and decided that we were going to start, not wait for me to finish my PhD, but let's start and support some girls. So I founded Kakenya's Dream as a nonprofit organization to educate and empower vulnerable girls to end harmful practices like FGM and child marriage. And the most important one was the need to unleash the potentials for young girls in rural Kenya. Kakenya's Dream started as a school for girls because I knew that education is powerful, and it's a powerful gateway to other fulfillments of other human rights. And more important, I knew that education had made a difference in my life. I knew that if girls would have access to education like I did, their lives would be different. As Monica has already said, once a girl is educated, she would actually escape child marriage. She will escape FGM because she would know what it is. She will not have children as a young child. And, even further, when she decides to live longer and have marriage, her children, we know, are going to be educated, because a mother who is educated, most likely her children are going to be educated. And most of all, she would live a healthier life. So, we came along and decided that in our school, I, went along and enrolled 30 girls in my school. But what happened is that instead of, I had hoped that to just start with 30 girls, with 10 girls, because I was a student and I thought, 10 girls, we can go ahead and start. But that day, went for enrollment, 100 girls came, and, they showed up wanting to get an education. And so my plan for 30 ended up with my plan for 10 ended up with 30 girls. And once they arrived, we started the school. It was a day school. And it didn't take us too long to know that the kind of education that we're going to provide had to be different. The girls were walking 3 to 5 miles coming to the school. By the time they were getting there, they were hungry, they were falling asleep. So trust me, we threw up all the plans of just a school. We needed more than books. We needed more to just a teacher in a classroom. We needed to feed the children. We needed to meet their mental health and their physical and their social needs. We needed to just have a different kind of education that is going to impact and really unleash the potential of these young girls. So we ended up with a boarding school, and now it has grown into 2 schools and going on. But I want to talk about one program that really is key to our schools, because every year we are accepting 30 to 40 girls, and then we are having 200, 300 girls applying. The question is, what happens to the rest, the 100 girls that we are turning away? And that always stuck in our minds, and we can't go on. We wanted to reach more girls. So we put together, Kakenya's Dream created a program that we call the Health and Leadership Training Program. And it was literally taking all the things that we are doing in our schools and package it so that we can be able to reach other girls in other schools. And more important is Monica was talking about including boys. So we started training boys and girls on harmful effects of FGM. We started talking to them about child marriage. We started talking to them about what happens when a girl gets pregnant when she's young, and it really tell them, educate them on their rights to go to school, their rights to healthcare, and more important, that FGM is against the law in Kenya. And if you found practicing or subjecting a girl to FGM, you will end up in prison. And talk about child marriage. And we started doing these trainings and really just making sure that we are training. And as I was talking about in terms of, reaching out to boys, we couldn't just train the girls to just, be powerful and all that. But we realized we had to train boys. We couldn't ignore them. They need to grow up. They're going to be the men in the society and will continue the same old age traditional mindset. And so we needed to train them so that they can change their mindset, so that they can be responsible young adults and young, men when they come up in the future, and that, to be our champions for their sisters, for the young women that they will, we have in our programs, but beyond. And so we knew that this is the training that we needed to do, and we needed to reach as many girls and boys as we can. We have been training in 100, we've reached 160 schools in Narok and Kisii County with critical information about sexual reproductive health, ensuring that, as I said, these young people know this. Not only does the program equip youths with knowledge and skills for the future, it also empowers them to be, our partners in promoting gender equality and in ending gender violence and harmful practices committed against women and girls. So it is so important that we include boys in these practices that are in these trainings that we do. COVID happened, and it's something that we cannot ignore. It's the work that we do with the girls, the lockdowns, the school closures, these programs that we exist, as Monica shared. Ours is in schools. Monica's parts of our programs are in schools. And when the girls went back to their homes, we found that they were really, it was a tough place. So many of them were abused. Many girls got pregnant. And literally, nearly every single home had a girl who was pregnant, and it was a crisis in the communities that we were working. And why was it a crisis? It's because one, of course, we know girls are caretakers at home, but girls are also sometimes need to step in to support their family. So some of them had to exchange sex for money to be able to feed their families and support their parents. Some of them needed even to just buy their, sanitary pads because most don't have access to that. And so for us, we knew that we knew how to work with girls in schools and boys in schools, but we needed to think about how do we bring out the people, the parents, to be more responsive and supportive of the girls. So we launched a program called Linda Dada campaign, and the Linda Dada in Swahili means protect a sister. We developed this program with key stakeholders in the community. We needed to make sure that the elders were there, the government official, the chiefs, anybody who had any powers, and who is a gatekeeper for girls. We brought them into together to talk, what do we need to do? We asked them, this is a problem that everybody was facing and everybody was talking about. What can we do? And through that, it was a result. We started community-based workshops about sexual and reproductive health, safe sex practices. We talked about, healthy interpersonal relationships, and some of the conversations that the fathers and the mothers and parents could not even have with their daughters. So we needed to have those tough talks and be able to train the parents, not just the girls onto protecting themselves, but parents to be able to support them. And more important, the role of a father, because in our communities that we work, girls just stay in the kitchen with the mothers and the boys with the father outside, and there's no relationship. So we wanted to really bring in the importance of fathers in bringing up and supporting their girls. So I talked earlier that we have no healthcare services, especially for young people in our communities. And well, I have some good news. We are about to change that, especially for the young people that we work with. We have completed construction of a health clinic that is going to be focused primarily on young people. It's expected to open at the end of this year. And I'm so excited because once it's operational, we'll be able to really provide stigma-free sexual and reproductive care for young people. It's one thing to train and give information, and it's another thing to really start talking about providing, services, because it is key for young people to have access to this. I'm excited about an emergency hotline that we'll be using to report incidents of violence and really just reaching out to more people in the community. Our work, our work is really deep in the community. We know that the problem runs deep. It is not enough just to focus on the girls and boys, as I have just said with you. We need to find a way to have bigger change. And one of our biggest things that we learned earlier on is to leverage and to work, with the men in the community. We require parents, one of the things we have is require parents to sign a contract to be able to say that they will not subject their children to FGM when they come to our schools. We also, sorry about that, we also have as a community board that is comprised of the local leaders, religious leaders and parents, because they're the ones that actually knows what is needed in the community. And so they are helping us, with strategy and guidance and really making sure that they are owning the program and the things that are going on in the community. Our work is, to make people proud of what a girl can do. And the good news has been that it is working. It is working in our communities. And just to finish, let me finish with a happy note. I want to tell you about a story of Lynette. Lynette is one of the students that attended our schools. So Lynette's father, his name is Momboshi, did not believe in girls' education. So Lynette's mother is the one who brought her during enrollment to our school. And looking at her when she was 9 years old, I knew she belonged with us. And the question was, what did we need to do to make sure that Momboshi, the father, could also believe in Lynette? So we asked, we one of the biggest things that we normally ask is the parents to come along and to look at the grades that the girls have and keep looking at how they're doing in school. And we use that as a pretense so that they are focusing on the biggest thing is to start changing their mindset so that they're not looking at her daughter as somebody who is going to get married and they're going to get cows, but to look at her daughter as somebody who is a teacher, a future lawyer, a future doctor, and really to really start changing that mindset, and to encourage them and to grow the relationship between the father, and as long as you can go, the father and the daughter start looking, becoming very close. But I must acknowledge, Momboshi refused to attend all those meetings. He never came to any trainings. But everything changed when Lynette did her national exam and performed very well, very, very well in her national exam in 8th grade. She was actually also called to attend the best national school. For the first time, Momboshi, the father, I mean, that day is so vivid to me. It's like, he comes, he had a car, he was running around telling everybody in the village how proud he was and how proud of his daughter he was. He was so supportive, and he said, it was like, who is this person? And but what is really exciting is that he joined and took her daughter to school in Nairobi for the first time. He had never been to Nairobi, but he took her to Nairobi. And the lasting change that is happening is because of people like him. We're changing mindset. We are turning people who are, who never advocated for girls to be advocates for change for their girls. And let me tell you that's the most meaningful change for us to see Momboshi now advocating for girls and really. But where Lynette is now? Lynette is actually studying for a master's degree in cybersecurity in Australia. And that there is no limit to what a girl can achieve if we find, if we just line up a community that can support her. Thank you so much for being with us. Please, if you can follow our work, you can scan the code or go to our website and social media and be part of this community that is making dreams become a reality. And thanks a lot to the support that we get from Population Connection and all the networks. Spread the word. We need more movements, more people working to create better places for young girls. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kakenya and Monica. Wow, such wonderful presentations. I'm always so inspired whenever I get to listen to you both and hear about your personal stories and the work that you're doing. It's truly incredible. So I just want to first thank you so much for this really important, impactful work that you're doing that's truly changing the world. We're really honored to partner with you. I have a few questions. We've got about 10 minutes left, so not too much time. But again, as Stephanie mentioned, if you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We'll get to as many as possible. One question that I had just right as we get started here is to kind of understand a little bit more about the similarities, yes, but also the differences that may exist in the needs between the communities that you're working with, Monica, in Uganda, and the communities that you're working with in Kenya. Obviously, you both are working to expand access to gender equality and to universal education, to access to healthcare and so on. But what can we as listeners understand more deeply about the differences in needs that may exist so that we can more accurately kind of understand the scope of what both communities and both states are dealing with? We can go with you, Monica, first, if you'd like.
Yes, sure. So for us to really be able to understand or even sharing the needs, our needs could be similar. It's just the context that changes. For example, as I was listening to Dr. Kakenya, the needs, for example, for a girl in Masai land, vis-a-vis working with elders in Masai land, the ultimate goal could be, how do we get elders to buy into the appreciation that they are critical stakeholders in moving the needle forward? The approach, for example, that will be used in Kenya with communities that are from Masai may be relatively different from the approaches, for example, that I'll use for elders in Uganda who have a particular culture and how you navigate that culture. So I think the point for learning is whoever really wants to do women and girls work is to be able to give space for conversations with these communities to tell you what is their actual need. What do they want to see happen? How do you work with them to get to that point? Because at the end of the day, all our communities want to be in the best place possible. But how do you work with those communities to define what change should look like for them, and how do they be part of the and what does the process look for them? So really there is no definite answer, but it's about working with the stakeholders themselves and together coming up with solutions collectively.
Right. Yeah. Really recognizing that although the ultimate goal is the same, to provide and expand access to resources, that each community is very different. And so the approach may differ very widely according to different communities and different needs. Kakenya, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to add to what Monica shared. For those who are listening and for those who are passionate about the work of girls and who wants to do something, I think that's always the thing. How do we do it? I think Monica and I have been successful in the work that we do because we do come from these communities and we do understand the local culture and we do understand how to push the different angles that you would need to do. And I think the biggest is always that as a movement and champions of people who are passionate about sharing and pushing the needle for girls. One is to really connect yourself to leaders who are on the ground, who are on the forefront, to support them in whatever way. There are different ways, not just financial, but if you are skills of photography and you can do that very well, welcome, come make a video for us. And if there are skills that you have that you can provide us, we are nonprofits, and any technical consultancy, any skills you have and you love to do, you can use that skills to actually advance the work of girls. Create spaces to share, people to learn about the things that are going on. Don't be afraid. I mean, we're talking to young girls who are 13-year-olds, 12-year-olds. We're talking to 8-year-olds about FGM. I mean, in some cultures and some communities, like, don't even open your mouth to talk about girls, but it is happening. Girls are being raped on their way to school, and so we just need to be more aware and really support the people who are at the front line and amplify our work, share them on Facebook. I mean, whatever platform you have, I always tell people, don't try to recreate a wheel. There is a wheel there, tap into that, connect, and let's make a change for girls in communities that have never been heard of in rural places. Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It's a great answer. And it is so important and good to know that both of you are coming from the communities in which you're working. I think that is so integral to changing cultural and patriarchal norms that have been heavily institutionalized for millennia. So amazing. Kakenya, I'm wondering, on the subject of FGM, which you spoke about a lot, and which is very pervasive within the communities that you work in, I'm wondering what the role of law enforcement in the government is there, because you mentioned that it's illegal, but it is very widespread still. So in your educational programs, you talk about the potential consequences of inflicting FGM, but is that something that really works? Is law enforcement an entity that you're able to solicit effectively? Do they actually come in and enforce the law, or is it more about changing the community structures and changing people's minds about it?
It's all about changing people's mindset, because the chiefs who are supposed to be implementing the law are part of that community who are actually subjecting girls to FGM. So what we've been able to do over the years is realize that we need to partner with them. We need to educate them, build their capacity for, because sometimes you find our place where we should be able to get support, they don't even have a car to go rescue a girl. So we really have to partner and educate them, and really we need to make sure that the law is implemented. It's not just in books, and the way to do that is to hold those leaders who are on the ground accountable for that. And we are friends. We talk about the law, you know what it is, it needs to be implemented. We talk about why, because the biggest thing is actually to know, why is FGM bad for girls? Because people have just been practicing it. They don't know why it is bad. So we have to educate everybody. So we work hand in hand. I think I always say that we all have a place to play. The local NGOs like ours have a place to play on the ground, on the forefront. The government has a place to create laws, because if they are not there, we will not be able to implement. The international community is out there to put pressure and continue the work. So it's like a multi-layer approach that requires the bottom-up approach, that we should be able to know, if I want to move this needle, this is the person I need to do. So it's a holistic way that we are addressing these issues.
Makes sense. Thank you. We've got 2 minutes left here. Unfortunately, I wish that we had much longer. I want to just take this last bit here to ask both of you just about what some of the biggest challenges and opportunities are within your organization. I don't know if you'll be able to answer that within this short time frame, but you guys have made such a huge impact in such a short period of time, and it's really amazing to see. But I expect that you encounter challenges and opposition all of the time. So maybe you could speak a little bit to what some of the biggest challenges are that you face, and then also what you're looking most forward to into the coming years. Monica?
The biggest challenge is sustaining this work. We do need resources on the ground. We do need unrestricted resources on the ground, because the issues are very dynamic. They keep changing. There's no one approach of figuring out one girl's particular issue. So that's the biggest challenge. But again, there is hope, because we are celebrating the International Day of the Girl. It shows that the world recognizes that it's an issue that requires global attention. But for me, my call is, can partners ensure that resources actually come down to the frontline workers, we, the organizations on the ground, that with very little, so much impact will be made, and so many girls will be rescued, and so many amazing things will happen. We'll be able to solve so much of the crisis that we are talking about globally. So, but we need unrestricted funds on the ground to sustain this work. Because once people see that you're rescuing girls, you're supporting girls in school, they expect to see that next year. What happens when the funding flow reduces? What happens to those girls? Do you tell them, now stay home, the resources are not coming? So as Kakenya said, all of us have the different roles to play, but to our partners, just to say thank you and keep the unrestricted support on the ground, and then we'll see these amazing results as time flows. And again, change takes time. Change is not a 1 year investment. It can be a lifetime. It can be 5 years. So again, it's a journey of patience and passion, and the list goes on.
Thank you so much. Really quickly, Kakenya?
I will talk about the opportunities that is ahead. It's the girls, the young people. If we create more spaces for them to thrive and empower them, and as you know, there's potential in huge numbers when you start investing in girls. So that's our future. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Wow, it's such a pleasure to have you both on. It's such an honor to be working with you both, and we look forward to staying in touch and to hearing about all of the amazing things that you'll likely be doing into the future. Thank you on behalf of Population Connection and everyone who joined in. I think that there's something that I'm supposed to say here at the end. Stephanie, I don't know if there's anything that you need to say. Otherwise,
thanks, Hannah. Thank you to our speakers. Excuse me. Just want to say thanks. Population Connection is a membership-based organization. So this event and all of our programs, including the Global Partners Program, where we're supporting these amazing organizations, it's made possible by the generous support of our members. So if you haven't joined already, I hope you'll consider joining today. Link is in the chat box, and I'll follow up soon with the recording to this presentation. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.